Whale unexpectedly beached itself. What they found inside this whale shocked the entire world. A massive whale washed up on the ocean shore, but when it was opened, what they found inside made everyone scream in horror. On the serene Scottish island of Iona, a chilling event unfolded one early morning. Local resident Michael Barclay set out for his routine walk along the narrow sandy beach, accompanied by his loyal German shepherd, Gray. Despite the cool sea breeze, Michael relished the tranquil views of the vast ocean. However, his peaceful walks were often dampened by the sight of litter scattered along the shore. The waves carried in heaps of plastic bags, bottles, rubber, metal fragments, and even pieces of fishing nets. This debris not only marred the island's natural beauty, but also frustrated the local residents. As a result, many locals, including Michael, carried garbage bags during their walks, collecting the debris and taking it to the city's recycling station. However, that morning, Michael stumbled upon something far more shocking. His eyes were drawn to a massive object washed ashore by the tide. As he approached, he was horrified to discover the carcass of a gigantic 50-foot whale. The mighty marine creature frighteningly sprawled on the sand, blocking the path along the water's edge. Michael nervously looked around, hoping to see someone who could help. But the beach was deserted. He then decisively dialed the emergency rescue service number. Soon, a team from the Scottish Marine Mammal Conservation Society arrived at the shore. Experienced researchers carefully approached the whale carcass for a thorough examination. What they saw simply stunned them. Opening the giant animal's stomach, they discovered a horrifying scene that was completely filled with crash fragments of fishing nets. Pieces of plastic cans, bottles, and other debris weighing a total of 260 pounds. The specialists concluded that the whale's stomach simply could not digest this enormous amount of swallowed trash, and in desperation, it beached itself in search of salvation. But unfortunately, it was too late to save the whale. Michael sadly watched the rescuers work, realizing he could do nothing to help the unfortunate giant. Suddenly, a troubling thought pierced him. Where was the whale's calf? It was the time of year when whale mothers accompanied their newborn calves until they became independent. Surely, such a huge female must have had a calf. Anxiously, Michael called his old friend Edward Graham, who now worked at the Marine Mammal Protection Society. When Edward arrived on the island and saw the tragedy, he was as shocked as the rescue team. Edward explained that in recent years, there has been an increase in whale and dolphin deaths because they get entangled in abandoned fishing nets and swallow all the trash thrown by people into the ocean, mistaking it for food. Sometimes entire herds of marine mammals died this way off the coast of Scotland. Edward feared that in this case, the calf might have shared the terrible fate of its mother. The next morning, a large-scale operation to search for the whale calf began, involving helicopters and boats. The team managed to survey the coastal waters, but there were no signs of the animal. Perhaps it had been separated from the herd and carried far into the open ocean. In that case, finding it would be nearly impossible. Later that evening, Michael recalled an incident from his childhood. Once as boys, he and Edward hastily constructed a primitive raft from wooden planks and empty barrels. And one day, the desperate youngsters dared to sail it across the boundless waters of the ocean. Their reckless venture, of course, ended very quickly in failure. Fortunately, the adults noticed their disappearance in time and rescued the reckless boys. But most importantly, Michael vividly remembered the direction of the strong current that carried their raft far into the northern part of the Atlantic. Edward immediately realized that the whale calf might have been pulled in the same direction. The chance was slim, but it was not worth giving up. The next morning, the rescue team headed to the area indicated by Michael. After several hours of meticulous searching of the waters from a helicopter, a joyful shout finally came from the pilot. "I saw it. It's alive!" But the happiness was premature. It soon turned out that the tail of the whale calf was entangled in a huge ring of fishing nets, keeping it on the water's surface. It moved its fins weakly and barely reacted to its surroundings. It was clear that its life was in serious danger. It was necessary to urgently free the animal from the trap before it was too late. However, approaching the giant in the open sea was incredibly difficult. Any carelessness and noise could scare the whale calf, causing it to panic and almost certainly perish. The team frantically thought about how to quietly and safely get close enough to the calf to cut the entangling nets. Then Michael again remembered how he and Edward once built their raft from planks and barrels as children. If they could do something similar, maybe they would have a chance to reach the animal without disturbing it. Michael shared his idea with his friend, and he immediately understood that it might work. Fortunately, there was an inflatable rescue raft on board the boat. It was immediately launched into the water, and several sturdy men sat on it. The current slowly carried the raft towards the entangled whale calf. The helicopter pilot, circling high above them, gave the team directions to adjust their course. Half an hour later, the raft was very close to the animal. The whale calf noticed the approach of the unfamiliar object, but fortunately did not show signs of fear. Perhaps the bindings had weakened it so much that it could no longer move. The people on the raft acted very quietly and carefully. Two skillfully attached the nets to the raft, making it easier to work. Then others began cutting the ropes with sharp knives. The work was difficult and dangerous. Any slight careless movement could ruin everything. At any moment, the powerful tail of the whale calf could overturn the raft and injure the rescuers. One of the men, a tall, red-bearded giant named Angus, hung over the side, trying to reach the lower coils of the net. Meanwhile, his companion struggled to keep the raft in place. Suddenly, the whale calf thrashed as if feeling the approach of freedom. Its convulsions created high waves that began to rock the raft heavily. Angus fell overboard but managed to grab onto it with his hands. The others had to work hard with the oars to keep the raft from capsizing. At that critical moment, one of the men finally cut the last loop of the net, entangling the unfortunate whale calf's tail. Suddenly, the whale calf lunged with all its might, its massive fin rising high above the water. The powerful wave nearly swept Angus away, while the others clung desperately to the sides of the raft as it capsized. Fortunately, the sturdy rubber construction of the raft held strong, sustaining no damage. Soaked to the bone, the coughing and sputtering rescuers scrambled onto the overturned raft. They watched in awe as the freed whale calf swam away swiftly, its dorsal fin occasionally breaking the surface of the water. It was alive and thriving. The joyful cheers of the team were so loud it seemed they could be heard even from the helicopter above. Shortly after, a boat arrived at the overturned raft, rescuing the jubilant but thoroughly soaked team. On their way home, everyone celebrated their remarkable victory, filled with joy that their plan had succeeded. A long and challenging fight against their greatest enemy, the trash polluting the ocean, still lay ahead. But today, they took pride in knowing they had saved at least one life. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.